They've done another one. They've done another Xenoblade Chronicles Switch 2 edition. This is the third one now. They've done X, they've done the first game, and now we're on the second. And we've covered them all so far, but I do think we should first go back to the Xenoblade 1 Switch 2 edition, because our coverage of that could have been better, we could have spent more time with it, and we didn't catch that the frame rate drops sometimes when you swivel the camera around. So in Xenoblade 1, if you were to just move the camera around, sometimes it will stay at 60, and other times it will drop to mid-50s, low 50s, 40s. And it's inconsistent about when this happens. And we also said that the image quality treatment was the same as X. Not quite true. It's 720p as it always was on Switch 1, apart from they're using DLSS to boost it up further. And it turns out 2 is doing the exact same thing. This is still 720p, like it used to be on Switch 1. They always say it's 4K. When they say that, they're talking about what your Switch 2 is outputting to your TV. They're not talking about what the game is rendering. So this is still 720p, but it's using DLSS. And it looks a hell of a lot better than the Switch 1 version, because the Switch 1 version looked really bad. Not only was it 720p, which is fine, that's a fine resolution for the Switch, but they used temporal anti-aliasing, which just had this really ugly shimmer. With every frame, it just shimmered the previous one. And on top of that, there's just some filters layered on top. I think they're trying to clean the image up, but it just made it worse in every possible way. And that's gone now. So, same resolution, without all the ugly stuff, and DLSS to make it look nicer. So I'd say the end result looks more like something around 1080p rather than anything in the 4K realm, but it's definitely a huge improvement.
It's pretty transformative. I'm looking at this shot of Rex and crew on the bridge, and there's like these torches in the background. And the fire particle effect on the Switch 1 looks so bad. It looks so much better on Switch 2. It's cleaner. It's not all pixelated. This is pretty transformative, I think.
It's definitely transformative. And this was the Switch 1 game that needed it the most, because it really just didn't look great.
Yeah.
Like, the art's always been spectacular. The scale's been spectacular. But the image quality's always held this game back. And you'll still notice traces of its low resolution origins. Like, if you zoom the camera out and look at Rex's face, his mouth or his nose sometimes just go missing. And if you zoom in to see the details, you'll notice that it just becomes a bit of a smear. And that's because the detail's just not there. DLSS can do a lot, but it can't just magic in that detail. So that is going to be lost. But in the general moment-to-moment gameplay, I think you're not really going to be noticing that stuff. Instead, what you're going to be seeing is 60 FPS, Xenoblade 2, looking pretty great. And in terms of the frame rate, so Xenoblade 1 had issues where sometimes it would just randomly drop half the frames. In Xenoblade 2, there are still frame rate problems. Nowhere near as severe as that, at least what I've encountered so far. But just roaming around towns, trying to swing the camera around, trying to make it drop frames. I did notice sometimes it dropped 2 quite consistently. There's one time where it went to 50 for a second, but nowhere near for the length that 1 dropped them, and nowhere near to the severity that 1 dropped them. So not completely cured of frame drops, but definitely a hell of a lot better than the last one.
Yeah, this looks a lot cleaner. There's still some of that inherent motion blur that they add to the game, but it looks a little funky at 60 FPS, but it's not distracting or jarring. I'm just glad that the frame rate is relatively consistent.
And speaking of 60 FPS, everything is 60 FPS. So the cutscenes are 60 FPS, which takes a bit of getting used to for something as cinematic as that. The menus are 60 FPS, which sounds minor, but it does feel really good, especially on map screens. And speaking of map screens, they're actually in 4K. All of the HUD is. So the battle UI, your waypoint finder at the top, the options, they're all in 4K, and it looks really good. And one obscurity is the blades. So all the blade illustrations are still in their native resolution from Switch 1, so if you zoom in on them, which you can do within the game itself, you're going to start to see some blur after a while. But the new one, Momo, she's high-res. She's 4K, so you can zoom in on her and get a lot of detail. But the new Pyra and Mithra illustrations for the special costumes they introduced in this one, For some reason, they act like all the other ones from Switch 1, so they're kind of low res, but Momo gets the special treatment, as it should be.
That's definitely bizarre. It makes me wonder if the Pyra and Mithra illustrations were made prior to some of this development for the Switch 2 version. Like, maybe they were meant for something else before getting put here.
And we'll get into all the new content in just a moment. Before we do, though, I want to quickly compare it to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Oh boy.
The main reason for this is because these games were internally 1080p and used DLSS to look higher res. And so Xenoblade 2, 720p DLSS, Pokemon 1080p DLSS, and you can see that Pokemon is just a little bit smoother, but neither of them are 4K. But you can still see exactly what they're achieving there. So a little bit under Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in terms of image quality, but much stronger art style.
Even despite like the difference in internal resolution, it's not that noticeable.
No, I wouldn't say so either.
Like, if you're really looking for it, you can see it, but, you know, in practice, it's not going to be a big deal.
And this is a $10 upgrade, and of course, you get more than just the tech stuff. But if you're playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna the Golden Country, which you could get separately in the physical form, you don't have to pay a dang thing. Everything is free for that physical version. So you get the 720p DLSS, you get 60 FPS, and you get a few minor quality of life stuff, which I'll mention in a moment. So that's all free for just the standalone Torna users. Everyone else pays $10 though. And for that, you get some brand new content and, of course, some quality of life stuff. And I think the two biggest quality of life things come from the field skills. So in Xenoblade 2, sometimes you just wouldn't be able to do things in the overworld unless you had the right blades in your party. So you had to shuffle your party around a whole bunch, or if you didn't have the abilities required for the field skill, you'd have to get new blades and try and hope that you summon them. Now, all of the blades that you have in your entire inventory are used. It doesn't matter if they're equipped, so as long as you have those blades, it's just going to go through them. But also sort of hand in hand with this, the field skills are just faster now. So if you find something to, you find an item and you go up to it and you just, you go oh, Flora heals an aching soul, and then they just come out immediately. It's way, way quicker than Switch 1 was. So they've just made the whole gathering aspect much quicker and also much nicer. So that's one of the biggest improvements above anything else, because that really was a hurdle in the original.
That's good to hear. Yeah, the field skills were a big pain point for me. I forget which specific moment it was, but there was a field skill that was required for story progress, and I just didn't have it. So I ended up stuck for a while as I tried to kind of navigate through that. If I had been more aware of the system, it probably wouldn't have been a big deal. But, I was still a newbie to Xenoblade at the time. And that ended up really frustrating me and probably dampening my overall enjoyment of the game more than it should have.
Even when you have the stuff you need, it dampens it. It's just annoying to stop and go through all those menus. But onto brand new content, because I think this stuff is actually really, really good. And the first one is Merc Assault. So remember in the original game, there were Merc missions you can send your blades on, and it's just hands off, just send them away, and they'll do tasks. In this one, you take control of the blades. So you get these bite-sized missions, like taking down waves and waves of enemies, but instead of there being drivers and blades, you literally take control of the blades in real-time combat. So the B button is the attack button, X is to use specials, you can change them on the fly. It's real-time Xenoblade combat. It's an entirely new combat system, and you get to just go hands-on with every single blade. It's really unique. I don't know if the combat is strong enough to hold its own game. It's understandable why this is just sort of a side mode, but it's still really cool to get closer to the blades like this.
It makes me wonder if that's going to be indicative of some of the future content in Xenoblade Genesis. Because Xenoblade has always kind of taken an MMO light approach to its combat system, but, without actually being an MMO. So I wonder if they're just experimenting with what, more traditional action RPG gameplay would do for the series. And I do find that interesting. I wonder if they can find a middle ground between the two styles, because I don't necessarily want Xenoblade to shed all of that entirely. But it's cool that they're trying that here.
Yeah, it's cool as just a experiment, for sure. Another new one is Pyro and Mythra have their new styles and new costumes, so you can go into the options and just enable that. Just changes the way they look a little bit. They're cool designs. So one way you can unlock that is by scanning an amiibo. So you can scan either Pyro or Mythra and you'll get those outfits. But when doing that as well, you also just get random bonuses. And you can scan 3 amiibo a day, and you get things like skill points to upgrade your abilities, or money, just like random things like that. It's throwaway amiibo stuff, but it's in there. Neat enough.
Wouldn't be a Nintendo game without throwaway amiibo functionality.
You've got to shoehorn it in there somewhere. But the real new thing, the big star of the show, is Momo from Xenosaga. This is now the 3rd Xenosaga Blade in the game, and it's so rad that they've just gone back and retroactively added her in. And so, like, you can summon her very easily. You go to Tora's house, and you just do a little cutscene. He gives you a specific core crystal, and you're 100% chance of getting Momo. There's no chance or risk, you just get Momo 100%. And she's a really cool character. She's a healer, and there's an entirely new Blade quest for her. And I think the coolest part of this is not only is there some Xenosaga references, but the coolest part for me is they've brought back most of the original voice cast to do brand new lines, like 10 years after the original release.
That's amazing. I mean, they've done that before, I guess, like with Xenoblade 1, Future Connected.
Yeah.
I was wondering why they were making such a big deal out of Momo in the marketing. I did not realize that she was a Xenosaga character.
They never say it themselves. Yeah, they always just sort of, they're like, here she is, you can make out what you want from that. But yeah, she's directly from Xenosaga, and there's a few little cool references that maybe make her canon. I don't know. It's hard to tell if Blade's a canon or not, but there's some cool things in there, like directly tied to Xenosaga. But yeah, the voice cast is all back. So we've got, Pyra's voice actress, Sky's back. Hearing Rex again after 10 years is really cool. There's a couple who aren't back, though. Dromark's voice actor died, so he's not here again.
No.
So we've got someone else who does a pretty decent job standing in. Zeke's actor is alive, but he's not back. I don't know why. Most of everyone else is back, though, with the lone exception of the announcer. So in Xenoblade 2's combat system, there's an announcer that sometimes just says, like, Blade Combo, and things like that. For the new Merc missions, they've got someone completely new. They've got Monoko from Expedition 33 to do the voice.
Oh.
He sounds just like him.
Interesting.
Yeah. So most of the voice cast is back for everything, apart from those 3. But everyone does a decent job standing in.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I still remember the whiplash with Future Connected and Melia, because it just sounded really different, despite being the same actress. It's I still wonder what happened there.
10 years is a long time. Like if you go into a studio and say, "Do this voice you did 10 years ago," you're like, "Oh, that's so long ago."
That's
now.
true.
Not only for age, but just remembering.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody just sounds like how they used to, which
That's
is great.
impressive.
It's nice just seeing the crew again, like just hearing them again. But yeah, the story with Momo is pretty decent. I think it's one of the stronger Blade quests. But yeah, it's just nice being able to get a whole chunk of Xenoblade 2 again. And I think this Switch 2 edition is a pretty strong one. It doesn't take it to like 1440p or 4K like some other ones do. But it is still one of the most marked improvements of any Switch 2 edition, just because of how low the image quality was in the original Xenoblade 2. And all of the new features are like really desirable. And with Xenoblade 1, like they added like a car racer to it, which was just kind of funny, but it didn't feel like a natural fit for Xenoblade 1, whereas all this stuff is incredibly natural.
Did you have a chance to try this at all in handheld mode?
I did actually, yeah. And it's good. It's good. It doesn't seem to be hitting native 1080p.
Okay.
That's probably because it's the same 720p being DLSS'd up. I think you can tell a bit on the smaller screen. But otherwise, Xenoblade 2 was horrific in handheld mode on Switch 1. Not only because of all that temporal anti-aliasing, but it also had dynamic resolution scaling going down to like 300p, like worse than PS2 games. This seems clean. This seems pretty nice.
That's encouraging to hear. I'm just glad in general that like Switch 2 edition over Switch 2 edition in terms of Xenoblade, it seems to have been getting better. I'm still kind of burned by Xenoblade X, so this is nice to hear.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. And we've got 3. That's the final one coming in a few months, and then every single Xenoblade will be on the Switch 2 in like a year and a half. One of the quickest developers out there.
With Genesis just around the corner right after that.
Yeah. So clear, the results could be better in all of these. You know, this could be higher resolution, it could be locked 60, but it's still a nice upgrade over what we had before. But anyway, I think that's all about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Switch 2 Edition. It's good. It's really good. So thank you for watching, everybody, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.